Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanamchari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari 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 Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari 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 Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Hare,
Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe.
Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe,
Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe.
Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe,
Jaya Prabhupada 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 Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada,
Prabhupada 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 Prabhupada
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada,
Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Prabhupada
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada,
Gaur Pimanandi Jai Vishupad Paramahamsa Pri Vrajgasaja Stotra Satya Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Hilabai Charanarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki
Jai.
Skandiviti Founder Acharyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki
Jai.
Samabhata Bhakta Vrinda ki
Jai.
Harinam Sankirtan ki
Jai.
Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
Dainitai Gaur
Hare
Primanande.
Bol.
All glorious to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glorious to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glorious to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Takshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Jita Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savarutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kancana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyaiva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayana Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naran Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Sarasatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswati Vyasam
Tato Jayamudiraye.
Tato Jaya Mudiraye.
Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Nara, Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayashabhadreshu
Nashta Prayasha Bhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Tamasloke
Bhagavate Uttama Shlake
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki.
Bhakti Bhavati Nashtiki.
By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and a loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama
Idam Bhagavata Nama
Puranam Brahma Samhitam
Puranam Brahmasamhitam
Uttama Shloka Charitam
Uttama Shloke Charitam
Sakara Bhagavan Rishi
Chakara Bhagavan Rishi
Nishreyasaya Lokasya
Nishreyasaya Lokasya
Dhanyam Swasyayanam Maha.
Dhanyam Sasayanam Maha.
This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God as Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya,
Shri Krishna Chaitanya,
Prabhu Nityananda,
Prabhu Nityananda,
Sri Advaita
Sri
Gadadhara,
Adaita Gadadha,
Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda,
Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda,
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Rama, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare
Rama
Hare.
Rama, Hare Hare.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Sarabhyaya Namaha.
Om Shurabhyaya Namaha.
Om Sarabhyaya Namaha.
Om Shurabhyaya Namaha.
Om Sarabhyaya Namaha.
Om Shurabhyaya Namaha.
Mukam karoti vacharam pangum nangayate girim yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our morning Bhagavatam class, continuing canto number 1, chapter 9, the passing of grandfather Bhishmadev. And let's see. Mm.
46.
Yes, text 4:6. Tasya
Tasya
nirharanadini
Nirharanadini
samparitasya
Samparetasya
bhargava.
Bhargava
Yudhishthiraha
Yudhishthira
karayitva
Karayitva
muhurtam
Murtam
dukkito
Dukkito
bhavat.
Bhavat
Tasya nirharanadini
Tasya Nirharanadini
samparitasya bhargava.
Samparetasya Bhargava
Yudhishthira karayitva
Yudhishthira Karayitva
muhurtam dukkito bhavat.
Muhurtam Dukkito Bhavat
Tasya nirharanadini
Tasya Nirharanadini
samparitasya bhargava.
Samparetasya Bhargava
Yudhishthira karayitva
Yudhishthira Karayitva
muhurtam dukkito bhavat.
Muhurtam Dukkito Bhavat
Tasya nirharanadini
Tasya Nirharanadini
samparitasya bhargava.
Samparetasya Bhargava
Yudhishthira karayitva
Yudhishthira Karayitva
muhurtam dukkito bhavat.
Muhurtam Dukkito Bhavat Tasya Nirharanadini
Tasya nirharanadini
Samparetasya Bhargava
samparitasya bhargava.
Yudhishthira Karayitva
Yudhishthira karayitva
Muhurtam Dukkita Bhavat
muhurtam dukkito bhavat.
तस्य निराहारिणदिनी
Tasya nirharanadini
संपरेतेस्य भार्गव
samparitasya bhargava.
युधिष्ठिरः कार्यवित्वा
Yudhishthira karayitva
मुहूर्तं दुःखितो भवान्
muhurtam dukkito bhavat.
Tasya Nirharanadini
Tasya nirharanadini
Samparetasya Bhargava
samparitasya bhargava.
Yudhishthira Karayitva
Yudhishthira karayitva
Muhurtam Dukkito Bhavat Muhurtam
dukkito bhavat.
tasya nirharanadini
samparetasya
bhargava
bhargava
yudhishthirah karayitva
yudhishthira karayitva
muhurtam dukhito bhavat
mahurtam dukkito bhavat tasya
tasya
his
his
niraharana nirharana adini
nirharanadini
funeral ceremony
funeral ceremony
samparetasya
samparetasya
of the dead body
of the dead body
bhargava
bhargava
O descendant of Brigu
O descendant of Bhrigu
Yudhishthira
yudhishthira
Maharaj Yudhishthira
Maharaj Yudhishthira
Karayatva
Karayatva
having performed it
having performed it
muhurtam
muhurtam
for a moment
for a moment
dukkitaha
dukhitaha
sorry
sorry
abhavat
bhagavat
became
became
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Sridham Prabhupada Ki.
Jai Jai.
O descendant of Brigu, Shonaka, after performing funeral rituals for the dead body of Bhishmadeva, Maharaj Yudhishthira was momentarily overtaken with grief. Now you may kindly all repeat after me. O descendant of Brigu,
O descendant of Bhrigu,
Shonaka,
Shonaka,
after performing funeral rituals
after performing rituals
for the dead body of Bhishmadeva,
for the dead body of Bhishmadeva,
Maharaj Yudhishthira
Maharaj Yudhishthira
was momentarily
was momentarily
overtaken with grief.
overtaken with grief.
Purport. Bhishmadeva was not only a great family head of Maharaj Yudhishthira, but also he was a great philosopher and a friend to him, his brothers, and his mother. Since Maharaj Pandu, the father of the five brothers, headed by Maharaj Yudhishthira, had died, Bhishmadeva was the most affectionate grandfather of the Pandavas and caretaker of the widow daughter-in-law Kunti Devi. Although Maharaj Dhritarashtra, the elder uncle of Maharaj Yudhishthira, was there to look after them, his affection was more on the side of his 100 sons, headed by Duryodhana. Ultimately, a colossal clique was fabricated to deprive the five fatherless brothers of the rightful claim of the kingdom of Hastinapura. There was great intrigue common in imperial palaces, and the five brothers were exiled to the wilderness, Haribol. For how many years?
14,
13.
13 years. 12 years is open and 1 year is secret.
Hidden,
Yes.
incognito. See, Sridham was exiled for how many years?
14.
14.
Yes.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead,
Yes.
exiled. And the Pandavas, the great devotees of the Lord. But Bhishma Dev was always a sincerely sympathetic well-wisher, grandfather, friend, and philosopher to Maharaj Yudhishthira, even up to the last moment of his life. He died very happily by seeing Maharaj Yudhishthira to the throne. Otherwise, he would have long ago quitted his material body instead of suffering agony over the undue sufferings of the Pandavas. He was simply waiting for the opportune moment because he was sure and certain that the sons of Pandu would come out victorious in the battlefield of Kurukshetra as his lordship, Sri Krishna, was their protector. As a devotee of the Lord, he knew that the Lord's devotee cannot be vanquished at any time. Maharaj Yudhishthira was quite aware of all these good wishes of Bhishmadev, and therefore he must have been feeling the great separation. He was sorry for the separation of a great soul and not for the material body which Bhishmadev relinquished. The funeral ceremony was a necessary duty, although Bhishmadev was a liberated soul. Since Bhishmadev was without issue, the eldest grandson, namely Maharaj Yudhishthira, was the rightful person to perform the ceremony. It was a great boon to Bhishmadev that an equally great son of the family undertook the last rites of a great man. Translation again. O descendant of Bhrigu, Shaunaka, after performing funeral rituals for the dead body of Bhishmadev, Maharaj Yudhishthira was momentarily overtaken with grief. So this is the culminating point of a very long history. Very, very long. Very, very, very long. Well, what is it, 450 years? 456, to be precise. According to some authorities, grandfather Bhishmadev lived for 456 years. So therefore, within that long period of time, there's a reference to that somewhere. It would be nice to find that reference. Definitely, because he kind of outlived different generations.
Yes.
So I mean, even great personality like Advaita Acharya, I believe it is recorded that he lived till 140 years. It's extremely rare in our present,
Yes.
day, but there are actually many people, even today, 2024, who live beyond 100 years,
Yes.
but quite rare.
Yes.
But still, they're known as, there's a particular word describing people who live. It's like, you become part of a club if you live 100 years or more. So naturally, Prabhupada mentions how he was giving himself as an example that I will not be with you for a long time, because Prabhupada was already quite elderly when he went to the West. But he would be explaining to his disciples, his early disciples, don't worry, even if I'm not here, the grandfather is more affectionate. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he will be giving his blessings to all of you. So even if I am not here as your spiritual father, your spiritual grandfather, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So this was especially the case for grandfather Bhishmadev, who in so many ways replaced Pandu, isn't it? Pandu was a natural father. Um, Actually, in one sense, he was not really the father because the Pandavas were all born from different demigods. But he was playing the role of father, and then he died at early age. Um, and therefore, Queen Kunti became a widow. And the only one to look after them or oversee was grandfather Bhishmadev, as Prabhupada mentions. In the royal family, there are many behind the scenes, generally, intrigues, as to who will be taking on the kingdom, who will be heading the kingdom, who will be taking the power. So that was very much present. That's all described in Mahabharata. And therefore, the Pandavas, they they developed, and especially the eldest of the Pandavas, Yudhishthira Maharaj, it's like when the father is not there, usually the eldest member of the family, especially if it's a male, he replaces the father. So he becomes more responsible, and therefore he develops a greater affection for somebody like Bhishmadev, who's the grandfather, who was always looking after the welfare of the Pandavas. So there was a very deep, very affectionate relationship over the years, isn't it, that developed between the Pandavas, and in particular between Yudhishthira Maharaj and grandfather Bhishmadev. Here the importance of sons is kind of referred to here. In the Vedic culture, having a son is considered very, not only auspicious, but very important. And one of the reasons, of course, is that it is a male son, or if a male son is not there, the closest within relatives who performs the last rituals, isn't it, when someone passes away. So it is not to minimize the importance of having girls, because girls are also considered as like the goddess of fortune.
Yes,
But they have their respective duties, they have their respective roles, and and there are guidelines that are given, what kind of attention, what kind of protection, what kind of education in the context of Vedic culture is meant to be given for the boys on the one side, and then for the girls. So it is not a kind of artificial equality which we are trying to impose in modern day society, which is of course a very involved subject matter. But Vedic culture recognizes, of course, on the spiritual level, there is equal opportunity for either boys or girls, or men and women, to advance spiritually. But there is a very scientific system in place which will facilitate, because ultimately that is the primary goal and objective in life, to become self-realized, isn't it? we were in one of the purports just recently, a tato brahma jigyasa, reference as to what is the primary goal and purpose in life for every member within society. That is there for all the members within the system of Varna and Ashrama also. It's not, just like Prabhupada would explain, our temples are open to everyone. The chanting of the holy name is there for everyone. No one is barred, should be barred from chanting the holy name. No one should be barred from worshipping the Lord. But there are certain guidelines that are embedded, we could say, within the Vedic culture. So, because, yes, as mentioned here in the purport, because grandfather Bhishmadev was a long life brahmachari, so he had no issue, means no issue, no children, and therefore the person selected to perform his last rites was Yudhishthira Maharaj. And this is in the text itself. Naturally, he was momentarily grief-stricken, which is natural, when a great personality who's member of the family leaves. We don't so much lament the material body that is no longer present, but we lament the kind of association, spiritual relationship that was actually there between grandfather Bhishmadev and the Pandavas in particular. So in this way, grandfather Bhishmadev, that is one of the reasons he is such a revered or worshipable personality, because of his being an authority actually on the principles of Dharma. And so he was one of him and Vidura, isn't it? Bhishmadev and Vidura were the two main personalities in the court of Dhritarashtra to actually give various advice. So that's part of the Vedic culture also, that generally wherever a king would travel and whatever he would be doing, he would have a few ministers with him who are well versed in the principles of Dharma. That's why it's so important to have individuals, those are generally the Brahmanas, who spend their maximum time actually in studying and deepening their understanding of the Shastra. And that is what precisely the Goswamis of Vrindavan were doing. They were, their main activity was to read, to study. We could say to research also, because they were reading so many different literatures and taking out the essence of the Vedic knowledge, which we are benefiting from today in all the different literatures that they have left us. So when we have this kind of society, and that is what we are actually endeavoring to do, to revive this type of way of life where individuals who are by nature inclined to understand more deeply spiritual subject matters, means the brahmanas, it's a whole culture that when it is properly in place, it creates very great personalities like Grandfather Bhishmadev, the Pandavas, and so many personalities that we read about actually in the Shastra. And here Prabhupada mentions in the purport how Grandfather Bhishmadev died very happily. Most people don't die happily, isn't it? So one of the purposes of Krishna consciousness is how to prepare us ourselves and others also, how to die happily. Generally, we don't hear that term very much, because everyone is very, very sorrowful. Not only people are generally very distressed. I was talking to one devotee who was a little elderly here in Mayapur, and we were just casually discussing a few months ago. I had him over for lunch. So he was telling, I'm looking forward for the moment of leaving my body. Because as devotees, that is what we should be endeavoring to do. To be engaged in such a way, both physically and mentally, in activities that are meant to help us psychologically be prepared for that critical moment. And that is why the more we become absorbed in such spiritual devotional activities, then transferring ourselves at this critical moment of leaving the body will not be a major occasion or a major event. Of course, it's a major event because we will lose consciousness of this body, but that is a whole process. If before leaving this body we're already in that spiritual and particularly devotional consciousness, then we continue. That's why Prabhupada mentions how devotional service is that process, the only process in terms of spiritual processes that continues after death. Nothing else continues after death. So therefore, bhakti rasa amrita sindhu. It is amrita. What is the meaning of amrita?
Nectar.
Besides that?
Amrita means not dead.
Not?
Not die. Amrita.
Yeah, amrita. This is my voice. Amrita is connected with. Oh, my voice is changing now.
Bhakti Rasamrit, they are actually mentioned malo, ras, so nectar. Which kind of malo?
Yeah, but it's not. We say mellow, so we're talking about rasa. Bhakti rasa. Rasa amrita. It is eternal nectar. That is the point. It is
Yeah.
it is eternal. So Prabhupada explains in that context, it is not something that stops. It is not something that dies when we die, isn't it? So in his series of lectures on the nectar devotion, Prabhupada points out that this is the special, unique feature of this process. In other words, any other process, any other spiritual process, which is devoid of this aspect in terms of rasa, amrita, of this eternal mellow, will keep us entangled in the material world, isn't it? So that's why bhukti mukti siddhi kami sakale ashanta, Krishna bhakta niskama ataiva shanta, isn't it? In other words, our activities in bhakti and only in bhakti guarantee our continued activities. I mean, the most ideal is that we are totally disconnected with even subtle things, because any tinge of material connection or material attachment binds us, keeps us connected with the gunas, and therefore we have to come back. We have to take on another material existence, wherever that might be. So that is a whole focus, of course, that we find in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and that's why Srimad Bhagavatam is especially glorified as being that scripture which is immediately taking us to that even beyond transcendental devotional platform, which when one properly executes the activities of the devotional service, guarantees that one just transfers oneself or becomes transferred. It's like the description of Dhruva Maharaj, isn't it? What is the significant feature of Dhruva Maharaj's departure? Because here the whole chapter is about departure, grandfather Bhishma Dev's departure. What's the special feature of Dhruva Maharaj's departure?
He was transferred in his body.
He left in his own same body. That means that his body was totally spiritualized. There's one purport in the Bhagavatam where Prabhupada, this question comes up. Well, you know, there were many other great pure devotees, but how come they didn't transfer in their own spiritual body? Isn't it? Because we only hear like the Pandavas left in their own body. Dhruva Maharaj, there are a few personalities. So there's one purport whereby Srila Prabhupada explains, I think he's quoting from maybe Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, one of our Vaishnavacharyas, that if all the pure devotees, let's say in our Guru Parampara, were to live in their same body, it would create too much commotion in society. Because it's most unusual. Well, it's like, who's it? In Pandharpur.
Yes, yes.
Um,
Sant Tukaram.
Tukaram.
Yes.
Tukaram, Krishna sent airplane,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And everyone could see, hey, there goes Tukaram. Because he was fully, totally always in samadhi, isn't it?
It's on the stage.
To the great, distress of his good wife. And hey, what about us? Tukaram is another example. They made a nice video on the life of Tukaram. You seen? No. Very nice. It shows, of course, a movie, but still, it gives us a nice understanding of how his mind was totally, So that is, so we have these examples of personalities who, even though their body went through the different, it's like Prabhupada's body at the end was just like skin and bones, practically. But consciousness was perfect, totally intact. A great, we could say, contrast to what is modern day situation now, where people in their old age, they become what they call senile. You know what senile means?
See?
Senile, S-E-N-I-L-E. There must be a Sanskrit word for that. You can find it out. What is senile? Means one reverses to being a child. Like a child, a young baby, a small baby, a young baby, a small baby. He's not senile, but so many things he just doesn't know, right? So in modern day society, there's more and more elderly people who become like infants. They forget who they don't know. It's like a young child or a small baby. He only knows mainly who his mother is because that's where he gets his food from.
Old age.
Huh?
Meaning is old age.
No.
Viddhavastha.
Senile. S-E-N-I-L-E. There.
Senile dementia.
No. What's the word in Sanskrit? Yeah, dementia. Sanskrit. Anyways.
Viddhavastha.
We're trying to learn a little Sanskrit
See?
in Bhagavatam class also. So there's just 2 more verses. We'll wait. Yeah, probably might finish tomorrow. So any comments or thoughts on this before I lose my voice altogether? Yes.
Actually, Maharaj,
Actually,
in
yes.
Hindu,
You always start actually.
in Hinduism family, actually, who anyone die by expire,
Expires.
his his son
Yes.
mm,
El-
burning his
yes.
father's body.
Yes. The eldest son.
Yeah,
Yes.
the elder son. But here Bhishma Pitamaha don't have any son and anyone.
Yes.
So his body who burning
Yudhisthira.
Yudhishthira Maharaj.
Yeah, that's what it's telling here. At the end of the purport, we're not listening.
Actually, Maharaj, it's Vedic rules that don't have anyone persons don't have his any child. like any boy or son,
Yes.
his family in other son, elder son can burning his body.
In the last line here it mentions, it was a great boon to Bhishma Dev that an equally great son of the family undertook the last rites of a great man. So in other words, when the son is not there, like in the case of Bhishma Dev, then whoever is like a son, in this case, it's like normally the son, the eldest son, is closest, we could say, to the father, because he has different, he's representing the father, even during his lifetime. So when the father dies, it's the eldest son, naturally, that's part of the Vedic culture. So in the case of Bhishma Dev, who didn't marry, therefore didn't have children, uh, the closest relative was, I mean, you could say, yeah, they were related, was Yudhishthira Maharaj. So Yudhishthira Maharaj took up that responsibility as the eldest of the Pandavas, and therefore he performed. That's what is mentioned here. He performed, Yudhishthira Maharaj, the last rites. So Prabhupada is pointing out that it was quite befitting that for a great personality like Bhishma Dev, another great personality like Yudhishthira Maharaj, who was also very exalted. I mean, he became the emperor of the world, and he's the eldest of the Pandavas. So yes, if an actual immediate son is not there, then it might be from another family, a male who performs that ritual. Yeah. Yes.
About the intrigue,
About intrigue.
so Prabhupada mentioned in the purport that
Ah,
it was commanded in imperial palaces.
Yes.
There was intrigue.
Ye-
So is it part of Vedic culture? Is it when we are trying to revive Vedic culture? Is it part of it? Or?
uh, yes, because in um, in politics, and one of the four sciences, Chaturvidya, one of the four sciences, Dandaniti, is the science of politics. So in politics, there's intrigue. And it makes it very interesting. Yeah, there is intrigue because we are here in the material world. There is always, isn't it? Is that pull between dharma and adharma. So even like, and in many ways, it's quite natural that it will be present in the royal family, because royal family is where politics is all happening, right? I mean, if everyone is a pure devotee, there will be less intrigue, less political intrigue. But because we're in the material world, even amongst exalted personalities, there will be some intrigue. So the intrigue will be either more spiritual or more material. Yeah. It's kind of like the spice. When you cook, if you don't add spice, it's less attractive. Yeah. Any other? Before we...
Maybe I have some question connected to the Dhruva Maharaj and other great devotees living this world in their body.
Right.
So, like it was described in some of the previous purports that Pandavas they always accompany Lord Krishna in his like Bhauma Lila.
Yes.
And Dhruva Maharaj he has his own planet Dhruvaloka, which is on the like border of spiritual and material world. So is it only like these special personalities who are playing these roles in Lord Krishna's pastimes, or even some like some great devotee from Goloka Vrindavan, he can also be present in his spiritual body here and then go back, or
Okay. So whether this is reserved only for just a few personalities, or whether, well, we only know of these personalities that are mentioned in the Bhagavatam, and we also know that the Bhagavatam that we are having, that we are studying, is not the complete Bhagavatam. So there surely must be other personalities who have that same type of situation. But whether it's only for those who are like the Pandavas, eternally with Krishna when he performs his pastimes, or somebody like Dhruva Maharaj who has his own planet in the material world. It's the only spiritual planet somehow inconceivably within the material world. So surely there are other persons whom we may not know of, that because we don't have access to the other cantos of the Bhagavatam. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki.
Jai.
Jai Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Gaura Premanandi.
Hari Hari Bol.